Hi, I'm Chef Gemma Stafford and welcome to my test kitchen. This is where my team of experts and I have fun experimenting, geeking out and solving your baking questions. This week, we are talking about the gummy bears on my website. Ami, help!
Hi.
Okay, so this is Ami, and Ami is my culinary superhero and she's going to solve this problem for us. We have all natural gummies on our website, and for a few years now, a lot of people have different issues with them. One issue is they're not setting, and another issue is when they make sour gummies, the sugar is dissolving, and we're going to solve those problems right here today.
We were talking about this recipe earlier, and I'm looking at a few different things. One of the things I learned from you, Gemma, when I started working with you is with gelatin, you can't just put it right into liquid. You should always bloom it. This is something that you had told me about. So I'm looking at this recipe and it says that you just stir in the gelatin without blooming it first, which activates the gelatin. So I'm wondering if we can change up the technique. I've also looked at some other recipes for homemade gummies and they use a little more gelatin, so I think maybe upping the gelatin.
Yeah.
Really getting a precise weight on that so that we have the correct ratio of exactly 1 cup of juice, our lemon juice, honey or agave, a little more gelatin, a better technique to mix in the gelatin.
So why don't we start out doing a batch of orange juice gummies and make those edits.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is bloom our gelatin. So I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons of gelatin powder. I'm gonna bloom that in 2 tablespoons of water. So while that is blooming, I'm gonna measure out all of the rest of my liquid. I've got my orange juice, I'm gonna measure out 1 cup of that. So you can use any fruit that you want to make your gummies, but just keep in mind certain fruits, specifically like pineapple or papaya, are really high in enzymes, and that can make it difficult for your gelatin to set. To the orange juice, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and then I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of agave. You can also use honey. So I know that my juice is hot enough when I start to see some bubbles form around the edge of the pan and the liquid is steaming. You don't want a full rolling boil. Once I've reached temperature, you can turn the stove off and put in your bloom gelatin. Now we're gonna stir this for a few minutes until it's dissolved. And just to make sure that there are no lumps of gelatin and any bits of fruit, pulp from the lemon juice, I'm gonna pass it through a strainer. And now we're ready to set it in our molds. So this looks like this is gonna be a little messy, which is why I've set this on a tray to catch any drippings. It'll make cleanup a lot easier. The silicone mold is really bendy, so once you fill up all of your molds, you'll find it absolutely impossible to lift up. So definitely put it on a tray before you pour. Air bubbles removed, and I'm gonna get this in the fridge. I can't wait to try them. So some of you have asked questions about gelatin substitutes because you're vegetarian, you're vegan, you don't wanna use gelatin. Agar-agar is it comes from a seaweed and is commonly used as a gelatin substitute. From the research that I did, you would swap out 1 for 1, gelatin to agar-agar. So I've measured out my liquid into this pot, and I'm gonna use the same amount as I had used gelatin. The other thing that I read is that we don't have to bloom the agar-agar. How we activate it is to bring the liquid up to a boil and let it boil for 5 minutes. I'm gonna modify that slightly, and instead of bringing it to a rolling boil, because I don't want too much of my liquid to evaporate, and instead I'm gonna keep it up to a simmer and let that go for 5 minutes. So we can see that the liquid itself looks thicker almost instantly, almost as if I had put cornstarch in it or something. This is much thicker than the gelatin mixture that we made. So here we have our molds, and same as the gelatin. Once I get everything filled up, I'm just gonna run my spatula. Okay, I have high hopes for this one. I'm gonna get this in the fridge too.
So it's been a little bit of time and our jellies are set. Let's talk about the main one first. The orange juice with gelatin, the regular recipe. Let's pop these guys out.
Oh yeah, looks like they set. That's great.
They did set. That's set really well. There's no lumps of jelly. I think that's really good. Bumping up the gelatin Ami worked, and then blooming the gelatin didn't hurt at all. So now we've rectified, I think, this problem. Okay, Ami, talk us through the vegan vegetarian option.
They are definitely set, but I would say they seem almost too set.
What we saw online was gelatin and agar-agar are 1-for-1, and I don't know about you, Ami, but that does not seem to be the case here. It's too firm. You can't eat this.
I can press into it, but I would cut it in half.
Yeah, do half the amount, and we'll put this information on the written recipe. This is a great option. It's plant-based, isn't that right? It's seaweed, agar-agar.
Yes.
And just do half the amount, and that will make a really good gummy. Now, the second part of our test is we're going to show you this. The one big issue we had was the gummies dissolving, coating the gummies, and then the sugar dissolving, and then therefore dissolving the gummy itself. So here's what we're going to do. We set up a few different types of sugar: granulated sugar, powdered sugar, corn flour, and then sanding sugar. So Ami, I'm going to do granulated sugar and you do powdered sugar.
Okay.
Now, granulated sugar, people are saying it's dissolving and making the gummies mushy. Let's see what happens. So straight away, these two are dissolving. The gummies are too wet and you can't coat them with these sugars. Let's just see what happens when you coat one in corn flour.
We're going to try doing our final one in sanding sugar.
And that's what this is made for. It's made for showing in bakeries and things like that, for staying on desserts. The cornstarch, just cornstarch alone, kept the gummy dry, but you can't eat just cornstarch alone because it tastes gross.
Right.
So here's what we're going to do. Let's dip this in a little bit of powdered sugar and see if that coating of cornstarch is enough to keep it dry.
Okay.
And let's see what happens. Ami, how's your sanding sugar one doing?
No, that looks. Oh, it's so wet. It's sort of.
It's dissolving.
Dissolving off. It's like
Yeah.
not even staying with my hands.
Yeah.
Not staying.
So there you go. It just took 2 minutes, and the one that was coated in cornstarch and then powdered sugar also dissolved. Ami, let's just, for the sake of it, let's try the agar-agar ones.
Okay, I think I'm gonna just. I know it's too hard, but we're gonna just try it in regular sugar. Then I'm gonna go to the powdered sugar, and then finally I'll try the sanding sugar, just to see what happens with the different sugars.
And instantly,
Yeah, this is not really wanting to stick at all, really.
no, because it's so dry.
Yeah.
But look at that, instantly they're starting to dissolve.
A lot of people have wanted to create a sort of a Sour Patch Kid by coating the gummies in sugar and citric acid. But the problem is both sugar and citric acid are extremely water soluble. And so what they end up doing is drawing all the moisture out of the gummies.
If you want a sour gummy, then I say add the citric acid into your gummy and then eat it that way. If you want gummies that don't dissolve in your fridge and have 36 ingredients, then go to the shop and buy some. Apart from that, I think we have rectified the problem with the gummies. They've set firmer. We have a vegetarian option now that works. We're going to adjust the recipe on biggerbolderbaking.com, and you guys should be good to go with your gummies from now on. So I'm glad that we finally sorted this out for you guys, for the website. We are good to go. Let us know in the comments what else you'd like to see us test and solve in our test kitchen. And we'll see you back here again really soon.
All right, see ya.
Thank you.